everybody, welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review for the brand new film, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Man, that title is still a mouthful. I just got back from the special fan screening, the early access screening. Was luckily playing here in my city of Chattanooga, and let's just say, first off, the theater was packed with people. It was the IMAX screen, and I want to say roughly 75% of the theater was full, which, again, we've seen obviously fuller theaters for screenings like this in the past, but in today's world, that is pretty massive, and that is very, very impressive. And let's just say the movie is also very, very impressive, and so I'll get to my thoughts in just a second. Before going any further, though, please make sure you smash that like button, lap that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and smash the rumble button as well. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification on. That way you know every time a video or live stream goes live on the channel. So let's talk about this movie. So this has been my most anticipated film of the year for quite a bit now. This is the return of Tom Cruise to the role of Ethan Hunt, along with his other, the gang of characters that we've come to know and love throughout this franchise. It's pretty amazing that this franchise has actually lasted as long as it has. You go back and rewatch those movies. Mission Impossible 1, I think, still holds up in a lot of ways. Some of the visual effects are definitely dated, but the overall story and the tension-building moments are great. For me, Mission Impossible 2 definitely misses the mark, and it's just not a good movie. And then it kind of picks up with 3, and then just goes off to the races after that. And I am happy to say that this movie is continuing on in that fashion, and is also able to add some brand new characters, some brand new actors into the fray, into the Mission Impossible universe, and they all do a phenomenal job. I want to give especially a huge shout out to Haley Atwell. I've already known that she is a talented actress from her role as Agent Carter, especially in the series Agent Carter, and I'm just so happy to see her in this movie. From the very get-go of her character being introduced, she has this poise, she has this presence where she's able to draw all the attention onto just all the little micro expressions on her face. It is just, again, a phenomenal performance there. Tom Cruise, of course, is still giving it as well. He, of course, is, especially with movies like this, always gives his all. And acting-wise, though I don't think this was a better acting job than what he had in Top Gun Maverick, I really think that he brought something special to that movie as far as his acting performance goes. His movie performance is still very, very good in this one, and the entire rest of the supporting cast is great as well. Ving Rhames gives a great performance, probably one of the best performances of the entire franchise that he's been in from a very long time now. He does a great job. Simon Pegg does a great job. Rebecca Ferguson continues also to bring it. You also have people like Vanessa Kirby as the White Widow doing a great job. You have Eugene Kittredge's character of Henry Czerny doing great as well. The character of Gabriel coming back. Also, the character of Paris, Palm Clementif. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly or not, but she is also phenomenal. And I think this has been said by a lot of people already, but the women in this movie are fantastic. Every single one of them feels authentic. You feel like what they are doing as far as the action sequences are real, authentic, and they are exactly what you would want any of these fight sequences to actually be. And you can tell there are many times when the actresses themselves are actually partaking in the stunts. I don't know exactly to what extent they are. I think Haley Atwell probably has the most because of the simple fact that she is doing a lot of these during the car chase sequence that everyone has basically been talking about for a long time since the trailers came out. She is doing a lot of the driving in that. So I knew already how much driving Tom Cruise was doing in that sequence. Did not know nearly the amount of driving that she was doing. So kudos to her, and kudos to the entire cast. And again, I'm going to shout out, of course, the stunt team, because these are the kinds of movies that always make me happy to remember and to remind everyone that these stunt teams are what make action movies go. And that's something that Tom Cruise especially has really, I think, been able to bring a huge focus to, is not just his ability to do stunts, but the stunts and what those stunts are able to do to bring the magic of filmmaking to the general audiences, right? Audiences want to be wowed. Audience want to be brought along on a journey. And this is the kind of movie, similar to what we saw with Top Gun Maverick, where it brings you in. You are invested from the very beginning in the lives of these characters, and a big part of that is because you are invested in them for their very safety, because the actors themselves seem to be putting themselves at risk, or at least some of them putting themselves at risk. No one more so than, of course, Tom Cruise, who again is doing some crazy stuff in this movie, just like anything else. And so I will say the acting The performances from all of the actors in this movie are fantastic, but I wanted to, again, stress especially Ving Rhames and Haley Atwell's characters, I think, really do shine more so than the other characters, even though the other characters are still phenomenal. The action sequences, let's talk about those. Those are also really great. You have seen, I think, a lot of the best action sequences by far in the trailers and in a lot of the promos for the movie itself. By the way, don't worry if you missed the early access screening. There was a small, like, again, a couple of segments. One was already publicized. It was going into the car chase sequence, and then there was another going through all the different premieres they did in all the major cities where these major action sequences take place. And so you didn't really miss much there. There was a poster, which is pretty cool, and also a pin. So you missed out on those items, but other than that, you didn't really miss much as far as actual extra content. It was also nice to have that intro message at the very beginning from the director, Christopher McQuarrie, and from Tom Cruise, thanking the audience for being there. That does go a long way, and went a long way with Top Gun Maverick. I think it's going to go a long way with this, especially when you take into account just how awesome those action sequences are. Like, again, the audience's reaction to all those sequences, to all the fun jokes that were kind of attached to those moments as well, were just really well placed. It was a very well paced movie too. Again, when we talk about just the objective qualities, this film really has it all. It is well paced, even though it is insanely long. It's 163 minutes, about 2.5 hours. And I definitely think that over the course of it, I was in an IMAX screen. Towards the end, I was definitely feeling it. If I had to have really any criticisms of this movie, it would be some of the sound design choices, especially when you're on the train. There's a sequence that happens on a train, and you hear this train whistle so many times. And if you see the screen, especially in an IMAX or a Dolby where the sound is very loud, it is about the most unsettling thing you could possibly imagine. And some might say, oh, that's kind of the point, and it keeps you on edge. For me, it just got really, really annoying. It's like, okay, we get it, okay? We get that the train can make this sound. Why do we have to keep on hearing it? It's starting to hurt my brain. But again, it's small things like that I can criticize. And, I could also talk about how in the very beginning, there was some use of CG that I thought was a little bit, again, kind of underneath where the film actually was. And sprinkled throughout the movie, there were also some elements where you could tell they were doing a lot of practical effects with some of the actors, right, hanging from things in real life, things like that. But you could also tell that there was some CGI backgrounds and some CGI effects like smoke, etc., that was being added in, or at the very least, that's how it presented itself. And that got distracting from time to time. But luckily, those are, again, very, very few and far between. And again, that is nitpicking at that point, because when it comes down to it, what does a movie need? A good story? This movie has it. This movie has you invested in all the characters, has you invested in what this mission is, and really what it is building up to, which is seemingly going to be the end of whether it's the character of Ethan Hunt, whether it is just the entire premise of Mission Impossible, the IMF, whatever it might be. It is building up to something. And again, as the title clearly indicates, this is a part one, but you feel like you get a complete story. And I think that's something very, very important. Some people have felt like some other movies that have been either part ones or have been continuations of stories haven't had proper endings this year. I've heard some complaints about that with Spider-Verse, for instance, that it seems like it just kind of ends. And even though a lot of people knew it was going to continue on, the way it ended, some people didn't like. This one doesn't have that to the same extent. I think that this one has a very self-contained story while also still opening up and leading into what will happen in the next film, which luckily comes out next year, so we don't have that long to actually wait for it. But what does a good movie need? Good story, it's got it. Good acting performances, it's got it, in addition to the amazing action sequences and also the amazing stunt sequences as well. Much of it helmed, of course, by the amazing Tom Cruise. I know not everyone likes him. He is a bit crazy in real life, but if anything, he knows how to entertain. He knows how to get the audiences into the theater. And I think, honestly, the word of mouth on this movie is going to be insanely good. If it's not already good, I've already heard a lot of people who've seen it say and sing the praises of this movie. The runtime might be the only thing holding it back, because that does limit the amount of showtimes that a film like this can have. Some people might point to the fact it's only going to have about a week in IMAX because you have, of course, Tenet, not Tenet, I don't know what's on the brain, but Oppenheimer and Barbie coming out next week. And so, again, obviously that is going to take away some of those screens. But honestly, when it comes down to it, you don't just need premium format screens to make money. You need a good movie. You need a movie that's going to motivate people to actually go to the theater. And it's movies like this, where even if you are in a smaller screen, it is better to see this movie on a big screen than on a smaller screen. I think it's going to transfer well to a smaller screen when the 4K comes out. Cannot wait to buy this one and to get into those special features, especially when it comes to the action sequences, because similar to John Wick, where each action sequence felt like it had its own unique personality and also felt like it was just, again, very, very well made. The same thing is of course, I think the case in this movie as well. So with all that being said, you got great acting, great story, great, again, everything about it is really good. And even though it is on the long side, you do feel that at times, especially when it comes to some of the sounds and noises drumming along, especially that train sequence. Overall, though, you go away with this movie very satisfied, very happy, and let's just say you're going to be singing the Mission Impossible theme song nonstop because it leaves you on a great note of excitement. And again, you feel satisfied with what you saw, but you're also excited for what's going to come. If I had to give this film a grade, I would give it an A-. So again, a very strong movie, but those moments, as I said, even though they are nitpicks, they definitely did, for those moments, take me out of the movie, and I think that it could have been done a little bit better. I don't know whether or not it would have been having a different cinematographer, whether it would have been having someone else behind the camera trying to clean up some of those things, because whereas Top Gun Maverick, it honestly felt a lot more real, authentic, right? The shots themselves just felt much more natural. There are some sequences in this movie where even though they are doing some of these very real practical effects, it almost feels like it's CG because they're adding in certain random CG artifacts to try to boost the sequence or try to boost what's going on. And I think that actually sometimes takes away more so than adds, because it makes the entire thing seem like it could be fake. And I think that might be a problem for some people. But again, that's just me. That's the kind of mindset I have. As you all know, I'm not a fan of CGI, especially in movies. But that's the reason why I also love the films that Tom Cruise does, because he's able to make a lot of these films using mostly practical effects and doing a lot of crazy stunts. And even with those CGI moments, you still recognize and see the performances on the screen, and they are killing it in this movie. So highly recommend you go see this movie in theaters. I think this film is going to do much better than what the projections or the box office are. I think that this film could end up actually potentially being the kind of, I think this film will have the word of mouth where a potential billion-dollar film could happen. Now, whether it will or not still remains to be seen. We got to get those numbers coming in, of course, but I think it is going to be a hard film not to see do very, very, very well. I don't think it's going to do Top Gun Maverick levels, but I think it will do pretty well regardless. So we'll have to wait and see. What are y'all's thoughts? Have you seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1? Again, A- is my grade. What is your grade? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, let the fire by Odyssey, smash the rumble button as well. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And as always, God bless. And now for a special shout out to all of my members at the Keeper of the Bifrost level and above, starting off first with my members over on Patreon: Father Luca Illick, Hymir Irie Hymason, Garrett Searles, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Orange Hat Reviews, check out his YouTube channel by the same name, Laura, the Major General's Story, Rosetta Allen, check out her YouTube channel, Eagle Rider, and Miss Martin Muses, check out her YouTube channel by the same name as well. To my subscribe star peeps, Zion Voders, Matt317, check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Fast Reaction, The R, Mr. Roy, J-Rod, The Beer Guru, and ZK Man, who you can check out over at xtheboundaries.co. And lastly, to my locals members, Miss Minnesota Hockey Fan, How About a Hockey Player, J.H. Schwalbach, and Robert Barnes, the amazing lawyer. So thank y'all very much for being my supporters at the Keep of the Bifrost level and above. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out that top link in the video description below to find out ways to sign up to support the channel and to be able to get access to things like the shoutouts, but also to giveaways. I have an exclusive giveaways channel on my Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff, and also access to an exclusive podcast that I do once or twice a month, depending on what I'm able to get accomplished, especially over the course of this crazy, crazy busy summer. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.